Hey, if you don't get a new AR-15 chambered in 300 black, you're an idiot. You need to keep up with tactical trends. 5.56 is, it sucks. You ever ran into that sentiment online? I have a lot. And I guess the new novelty cartridge of the tactical world, of which I am not a part of, has crowned 300 Blackout as the go-to cartridge. There's a lot of videos on it, a lot of blogs, a lot of forum posts on it, and that's what they're saying. They're saying it's a can-do everything, dominates a 5.56. So again, we find ourselves in the real world in this video. I'm not shooting behind my double wide, I'm not shooting at a range. I'm out in the west desert of Utah right now. The winds are gusting to 20 miles an hour. The target I will attempt to shoot at is at 400 yards. And that's actual distance, not YouTube distance. By YouTube distance, I mean, I've watched some videos and guys say they're shooting at such and such distance, and I say, bullshit, you ain't. I do this all the time and I can tell, it ain't. Now, if you think you could take a red dot sight and shoot 300 black at, I don't know, let's say 750 meters and hit every shot, please contact us at the post office box and we'll be glad to host you. I'll do the filming. And I'm free to mock you when you miss pretty much every round. There's videos out there say that. Oh yeah, it's good to 750 meters and beyond. It's not that I don't like the Blackout. I think it's a great cartridge in its niche. And the niche is SBR and suppressed. Close range. For me. If that's the majority of what you're going to be doing, I say black is a great way to go. I'm going to kind of hit on some advantages and disadvantages of the round. I'm going to attempt to shoot the target at 400 yards here. I don't even know if I'll be able to connect, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. But if that's what you're going to do, suppress, and you like the 30 caliber round and you want to run maybe 220 grain black, I say go for it. The thing that I'll start off with a disadvantage in testing out here in the desert, I have found the 220s, at least out of one gun, granted it's not a big sample size, to not be super reliable. So does that mean I have to tune the gun, change it? I'm not interested in doing stuff like that these days. And it's a great gun. We're shooting it right now. It's an FN. So it's this gun right here. 300 black. I'll tabletop it pretty soon. Right now, though, I have it loaded with 150 SAWCs, and I'm running a Gemtech HVT off at the end of it. I think it's a great niche cartridge. I'm a big fan of 7.62-39. It's affordable. You can buy it everywhere. You can buy it in really good loadings. The Hornady SST round, I've shot out here. I made a long range shooting video at this very location using a variety of AKs, and with various results. We surely didn't hit every shot that time out either. Real world. And it's a great cartridge. If you say, well, I absolutely need to shoot like Whispering Death, I recommend you go watch two videos. Debunking 10 Tactical Myths. I just put that one out not too long ago. And another one you should absolutely watch is Debunking the Sniper Fantasy. A lot of guys think that in WROL, they're going to be on this hill over here. They're going to be wearing a ghillie suit, and they're going to be killing people at 1,000 meters. What the hell? I talk about that in that video, about the idiocy of that whole concept. Do they get it from their video games they play all the time? Probably. Do they get it from YouTube videos they watch? Probably. Here's a truth dart for you dudes. In WROL, if and when you would have to make a shot, it's going to be within probably 15 feet. Says me. Not 1,000 meters. Holy crap. Not at 7.5. I wouldn't say it would never happen. I've said that before, but it's going to be extremely rare. And you better have your ROE and the understanding of the situation well in hand. Well in hand. It's much better to avoid conflict, and the whole value system of taking life comes into play. I'm huge for avoiding conflict at all costs. That's all in that video, so go watch that. But a lot of the, I'll call them the whispering death crowd, you'll see them show up here, will say, yeah, 300 black is my choice. Again, though, I think inside, and I'll just arbitrarily choose 200 yards. I know it can go further out than that. We'll be shooting at 400. It's ballistically efficient well past that distance, but there's a reason why I kind of choose that. Same reason I say that about the 7.62-39, and that's just, it drops so significantly. It makes your ballistic computation much more challenging. And I was going to say this later, I'll say it now. This is a great scope. It's just a gun test scope. It's a Burris. I have it in a flat mount. I don't have the come-ups to go to 400 yards with this Fiocchi load. I just ran it through the chronograph. It's spitting out about 1895 as an average. My drop at 400 yards is 73 inches. What? 73 inches. That's freaking 17.5 MOA. I don't have the dial for it right now. So what I'm going to do is estimate in a ballistic reticle that this Burris has. Totally doable. Before we get to shooting, actually I'm going to pop a couple right now. I'm just going to guess. Break it up. Watch the, by the way, watch the chronograph spit out. And I make no promises at all that I'm going to hit. I'm just going to go off crouching. You guys might be able to make the target down there. I couldn't hear it or see it. Low right. I'm aiming 4 ballistic notches high. I think I may hit it. Dry out here. I had to get a drink. This shoot's sponsored by Gatorade. I'm just kidding. They don't sponsor me at all. I do like it though, especially out here coming out of the cooler. So I just shot a couple rounds. I think I may have hit on that last one. I can't really hear with the ears. Yeah, I do wear ears even with suppressed. That's just the way it is. Let's talk about some good things of black though, and there are some very good things. It's very efficient in short barreled rifles. Awesome. The burn is complete within about 9 inches. Yeah, love it. That's excellent, right? It uses a 308 diameter bullet, and there's a lot of those to choose from. Manufacturers are starting to make more 300 Blackout. The costs have come down from a couple years ago. 300 Blackout used to be uber expensive. It still is very expensive. Here's the Fiocchi's. What I'm paying for them, that's not cheap, you know, but it's come down a little bit. Maybe that happens more, but we're talking and focusing about good things. Most people would agree that it's good to about 400 yards. That's the distance, by the way, I'm trying to shoot at right now, right? I have my own thoughts on it. I kind of alluded to that earlier. Converting it in an AR-15 platform is super easy. Just put on a new barrel, so you can push pin on a different upper for your AR-15. It uses the same mags. That's all good. So it's a real easy conversion over. Same mags, just a new barrel. Same bolt carrier, same bolt. Big plus. It's basically a 223 case sized for a 30 caliber diameter bullet. It's accurate. Now, in my shooting, at least out of this platform, it has shown to be providing good accuracy. I would not say excellent or repeatably excellent accuracy, and that's shooting with a can. Good group would emerge, and then lo and behold, it opens up to about 2 MOA, which is not horrible, but it's nothing that really excites me. When you see the tabletop, I'll talk a little bit more about that. It's really good on game animals. And this has been proven. It's a great hog round, but so is 7.62-39. You know, and guys will debate this to, the ends of the earth. I'm just giving you my opinions in this video. And I say that now because, you'll have people show up, well, such and such killed a freaking Sasquatch. I'm exaggerating. A Sasquatch with a 300 black. There's been elk dropped with a 22 long rifle. So does that mean that 22 long rifle is the best cartridge for elk hunting? No, what you do is you gather the predominance of evidence and you go, what's the best round for the application? For me and what I know about 300 black, I could hunt deer with it to 200 yards. I'd feel good about doing that. I think it'd be fine. You choose a good round that has good expansion properties, energy transfer, tissue damage, all that stuff. Sure. Another good thing about Blackout is that it's relatively lightweight, and I'm a big fan of SAWC, as you guys know. This is good, but is it that much lighter than a 7.62-39? You know, and if we take into account cost, then we kind of have to have a different discussion there as well. And again, I kind of already stood up for its subsonic capabilities if you run the right bullet weights. So that's good things about 300 Blackout, and I'm on board with all those actually. I don't refute, well, that one about 400 yards, I'll kind of beat on that a little bit. But most of that I'll agree with. Well, let's talk about the negative things of 300 Blackout. And I think they are substantial. While the costs have gone down, it's still a very expensive round, 300 Blackout. I wrote some of my research out today. The Nosler 125 grain poly match is $1.65 a round. I know that's kind of an outlier. The Arms Core 147 is, and this is just clicking around the internet, is 71 cents a round. That's in the realm of reality. S&B is 72 cents a round. Fiocchi, the very stuff I'm shooting now, actually no it isn't. I'm shooting the 150 grain, so it's 70 or 68 cents a round. The 220 grain is very expensive. There's that wind I was talking about. See that? Real world. Pressing on. 220 grain is about $1.44 a round for Remington. I have some American Eagle. I forgot what the price was, but it was insane. So let's go back and say, well, I'm whispering death. I'm going to make it my sniper extreme cartridge, and I'm going to take it out to 700 meters. I'm going to be whispering death. I'm choosing 300 Blackout. How many of those rounds, the 220s, do you have stored up? That's first question. Number two question is, how often do you practice or train with that? Number three question is your gun reliable with those 220s? Number four question, and guys will say this, well, I'm reloading. I'll just reload it, and that'll cut my my cartridge cost substantially, and it would. But if you reload, you can make a mistake, and when you really need it, you go click, and nothing happens. It happens all the time. Generally, reloads are not recommended for defensive situations. They're just not. So if you want to reload, go ahead. I hate reloading. I absolutely detest it. I've done it in the years past. It's just so boring to me. And with TMP and my other stuff, I don't have time. So if you go back and go, well, if you reload, the costs are very cheap. What you're telling the customer, the consumer, is that he has to reload. And that's jacked up. That's like saying, oh, well, you got to go buy 223, but you got to reload. No, I don't. I can go out and buy 1,000 rounds for something affordable, 500 rounds for something affordable. Speaking of which, let's compare the 300 Blackout against the 5.56. And to do this, I have to back up a little bit because we're talking philosophy of use. I am. If your philosophy of use is inside 200 yards, I always talk yards, and it's you're running subsonics, I say awesome, great. If it's CQB, I think it's a great round for that. So is 7.62-39, in my opinion. That's all it is, just my opinion. It is. So is 5.56, in my opinion. Well, 5.56 sucks. It doesn't make stops reliably. I'll agree with you, and I've said this tons before, that I think 5.56 in a 55 grain load, FMJ is a pea shooter. But when you bring it over to the 77 grain side, 75, 77, and I'm seeing it out here, it's kind of a different animal. It's kind of like you are transforming it from a pea shooter into something medium power. Definitely not high power. High power would be this, a 308 battle rifle. So here's my M&P 10. Okay, speaking of which, let's pop around with it. I can't, I've got the chrono set up for that. I'm gonna have to reset it. Go with that though, I mean, if you want high power. But if we're considering 300 Blackout expanding the POU discussion as an all-around cartridge, as what I think is a lot of horse crap on the internet saying, oh, you're good to 1,000 meters, 700 meters, no problem. I disagree with that. I think you're going to have a lot of problems. One is what you're seeing right here, is that my come-ups are so high, I'm freaking mortaring these rounds into target. That's not an efficient way to shoot, says me. You know, I shoot out here all the time, 700 yards, and it's a hard shot, really difficult shot, and I have to have a real good day, really good stability, magnified optics for me to do it, and I'll still miss. Then you're saying, well, now you need, what was it again? Let's say I'm shooting at 500 yards with this 150 grain POU round right here. I just ran this for current temperature, current relative humidity, getting the numbers out of here. I dropped 132.5 inches with your 300 blackout load. Holy freak. With a 77 grain razor core that has a 0.372 ballistic coefficient, and by the way, this one has a 0.398 higher ballistic coefficient, but I'm dropping less than half, 57 inches is what I dropped with a 77 grain razor core. And while I'm saying this, I'm going to roll in footage of us shooting the SPRs out in this exact environment, oftentimes at very long ranges. I will sit here and tell you that it's a very effective performer, 400 yards all day long. Once you get beyond 400 yards, it will still do it, but you've got to have your crap together. 500 yard shots tough, 600 yards tough, and beyond 6, I don't even try it. Hey, but you can go way past that. I know, but I'm just saying for me, and I don't think most guys can make that shot either. I bring them out here and they can't. Again, if you feel differently, write the post office box. We'll talk. You know, I've thrown that challenge out a couple times. I've had no takers. By the way, you fly yourself in, you pay your airfare, your hotel. We'll just meet you at a certain latitude, longitude, and we go set the target up and shoot. That would be funny. That would be funny. I'd love it. I'd love it. We're talking about the bad things then. Some of them, there is a discussion, and I don't know so much about this because I don't have a ton of experience in the 300 blackout, but some will say that it actually needs a can to operate effectively. So if you run a subsonic round in an AR-15 platform, 300 black, and you don't have a silencer on it, it's not going to be reliable because it needs that for back pressure out of a certain length gas system. So I'll just throw that out there. I still think it's expensive, and we were talking expenses of the 77 grain. I kind of got sidetracked, but here we go. I'm talking good stuff like Black Hills 69 grain match is 78 cents a round. So think about that. The 77 grain Black Hills, which I think is very expensive, is 98 cents a round. The razor core stuff that I did a review on is much less than that. I didn't write the cost down, but it's, I don't know, around a lot less. Fiocchi 77 grain is 92 cents a round. So that's kind of in the same realm, and it's not cheap. 77 grain 5.56 is very expensive. I've always said that. But it's less expensive than comparable, accurate, long-range loading, says me, of a 300 blackout. That's one aspect. Another aspect I really want to draw out in this conversation is that the 5.56 is extremely versatile, both in terms of cost and in terms of loads. Is it the most deadly cartridge out there? Absolutely not. The most ballistically efficient? No, it's not. But again, we can buy bulk of 5.56 easily, and we can load it accordingly. So if I want to dick around here with a drill and I don't want to spend the money on 77 grain, I will just run the 0 for, as you've seen many times out here, for 55s. And now my cost for 55 grain can be all the way down to 31 cents a round for like Wolf, which does shoot accurately out of a good DI AR-15. Don't want to shoot Wolf? Okay, American Eagle's 41 cents a round. 55 grain FMJ boat tail. Whereas if I've chosen a 300 black and I want to do the same thing, I want to shoot, the cheapest I'm seeing is 68 cents a round. I saw that on special, which is actually pretty good, but it's more than double for those cheaper 5.56 rounds. getting back to a realistic discussion on use. I think a lot of dudes that promote 300 black, if you were to go to their house and check out their stash of 300 Blackout, I bet a lot don't have it. You know, a lot of them don't store it up. A couple hundred rounds, that's it. Whereas you go to some AR-15 guys, myself included, 5.56, you go, dude's got a stash readily available. I think one thing that would change this is the adoption of 300 Blackout on a widespread basis of the U.S. military. And then it trickles through the system. A lot more rounds, millions and millions of more rounds are being made. And so we have an economy of scale that is transferred to the civilian market. That has heretofore not happened with 300 Blackout, and I doubt it ever will. Another big downside to it. And as 300 Black was so amazing and so superior than 5.56, I think the military would be seriously looking at transferring it. Hey, but that's a lot of money. They don't want to spend the money. I know, I've read all that stuff. I talked to my friends in the military. I get it. But I don't know if it's the best all-around cartridge. For instance, if I'm in Afghanistan and I have to engage at 500 meters, do I want to be shooting a 300 Blackout? For me, no way. For that matter, I don't want to be shooting 7.62 39. I just think there's too much ballistic drop. The Hornady SSTs, the 123 grains, 295 BC, if I shoot them at 500 yards, we've done it at 400 right here, wow, 102 inch drop.
Horrible.
That's substantial. The 77 grain razor core at the same distance will drop 57 inches. Now, there is a discussion I haven't even touched on, and that is, well, the 30 cal round is going to hit a lot harder. It's going to have more retained energy. Roger that. No argument from me. And depending on which distance you choose. And I can make this video 2 hours. But the key thing is you got to hit what you're shooting at. So who cares how much retained energy you have if you're not hitting your target? Why aren't you hitting it? Because you're dropping 100 inches, 132 inches. That's a hard computation. I don't care what anybody says. If someone comes on, a YouTube video, go, oh, that's easy. All you do is do that. No, dude, that is 25 MOA. Can your scope dial in 25 MOA? Can your reticle deal with 25 MOA? And that's with no wind correction. I think the more come-ups you put in, the less likely you are to hit, just from my own experience out here. I'm not the best shooter in the world. I'm just a gear tester, but I got no hidden agenda. I'm not trying to make money off you. Not trying to build my tactical brand, have you come out to my school, buy my special products. No. Disadvantages of 300. The retained energy thing, I did read a discussion, and the guy had a really good point. He said, once you get at a realistic, and I forgot what distance he's talking about, but he's like, a 300 Blackout has the equivalent velocity of a super hot 45 ACP. I thought that was an interesting discussion. And a lot of people say it gets beat by the 7.62 39, which is a much less expensive round. Much less expensive. 22 cents a round for 7.62 39. 123 grain hollow point, which in my own accuracy testing came out on top out of a stamped receiver AK variant rifle. Hornady SST 123 grain, which is an expensive AK round. It's less expensive than this at 61 cents a round. Not this, but the Hornady SST, which is a great ballistically efficient round for the AK. It's super cheap, man. So just keep that in mind. The 77 grain is kind of my answer to the 300 Blackout. Not in terms of suppressing the rifle. Like I said at the outset, if you absolutely want to suppress, you want to stay subsonic, you want to stay whispering death, then 300 Blackout's the way to go. As long as you deal with some limitations. Cool. A lot of people talk about, and I kind of agree with this, that in a close-in defensive situation, unlike maybe some specialty loads of 5.56, it can't over-penetrate. It can. For me, I'm not using it in that philosophy of use, but some guys might. Think about it over the 308. And this is kind of a different discussion because I have been comparing it against the 5.56 and the 7.62 39. I'm talking 300 Blackout. But if a guy starts, you know, waxing prophetic on how awesome the 300 Blackout, how it hits at long range, how it hits hard, what I start doing is I start thinking about cost. I'm like, well, the money you're spending on that, you could be shooting a 308 battle rifle, and that, I know that's proven. That thing will dominate out here. It'll buck this wind we have today. It hits hard, it defeats obstacles, it creates all types of problems for your adversary and body armor. Does 300 Blackout do all that stuff? Does 7.62 39 do all that stuff? I say no. I'm not the ultimate expert, but from what I see out here in my 10 years doing TMP, I'd say no. Yeah, do this, dude. This freaking gun right here is awesome. Right now, I'm running 168s in there. Now, we're going to take a lot more weight when we go to this platform. For instance, this weighs 9 pounds, 9 ounces. Firepower versus mobility, man. I talk about it all the time. This one here, not with a can, just with a mag, like a 30 round Lancer, 7 pounds, 15 ounces. So about 1.5 pounds is what we gain with the 308 in this configuration with these optics. Let's see if I can hit this thing, and then we'll get back to disadvantages. I'll try my shooting sticks. And speaking of real world, look at where I'm shooting. This is interesting. So we're not in a prepped concrete shooting area at a range. So I have uneven, silty, dusty terrain. I've got wind to deal with. I do have the KTM parked directly behind me to hopefully give me a wind shield. It still bounced me around. This is real world, and here's the target. Let's go through the chronograph so you can take a look at it. I don't know if I can hit it. I honestly don't. I'm coming really close, super close, but I'm not going to tell you. You're going to hear steel every time, and I'm not going to fake it. Come up a bit. Again, I didn't spend time to match the ballistic reticle to this load. I don't have that time. So I'm kind of just guesstimating, and it would help if I loaded it. Chamber should be good. Yeah. Low right. It is nice and quiet. I cannot believe how much this thing drops. I mean, I'm shooting again on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th tick mark in the scope, and it's still dropping underneath the target at 400 yards. And I did remark how quiet it is, and it is quiet. But honestly, out here, if you put a can on it, so is 223. Hey, but it has a sonic crack. Honestly, dudes, I think that's way oversold. It's still extremely confusing for anyone to know where that's coming from, unless you're just doing repeated shots from the same location. But if you do a quick 2, 3, 5, no one's going to know where it's coming from. They're not going to say, oh, I know that guy's on that ridge over there. I can detect it from the sonic crack. No, they're not. No one ever talks about that. So I think it's way oversold. It's a lot of bull crap on that subject. A can helps tremendously, even with non-subsonic loads. Jesus, an unstable wrist. In this silt. Guys suck. There's a hit. The thing is, this is real world. And I'm leaving the video as is. That's real world, man. So imagine that you're under stress, you're taking rounds, and you're doing this. So I'm not taking rounds. I'm not stressed right now. I have a few environmental things to deal with, but nothing major. And granted, I could get an optic setup that could dial in. So I'm shooting point of aim. I am in the reticle, I'll give you that. I think the biggest disadvantage of 300 Blackout, and it's something I haven't even addressed yet, and that is availability. You know, the 5.56, I can go anywhere and buy it. I can go to Walmart and buy 5.56. I've already mentioned we can get it in bulk for cheap prices, relatively cheap. Same with AK ammo, 7.62 39. 300 Blackout remains a boutique ammunition. There's only certain places that carry it. Will that change in the future? I heard a lot of hype with the boutique cartridges, 6.8 SPC, all the tactical types, the instructors saying this is it, this is the go-to round, blah, blah, blah. I heard it with 300 Whisper. 300 Whisper's it, blah, 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 blah. Now we're hearing it with 300 Blackout. My prediction with 300 Blackout is that it's going to flatline. I think it'll kind of arc, and people are talking about it. Maybe this video helps, and then people are going to kind of see the truth about 300 Blackout, how it is a niche cartridge, and it's going to go down. And what will remain is 7.62 51, 7.62 39, and 5.56. Don't interpret what I'm saying as I hate 300 Blackout. I don't. I think it's a great cartridge, but it is a niche cartridge. Niche cartridge. Change. Let's see what I'm going to do velocity-wise on my my 308. I haven't shot this for a while. 168 grain atomic is the load, not hand loads on this sucker. Firepower versus mobility. Honestly, dudes, I've said it before, if I can take the weight, this is my go-to gun. For the same cost you're shooting Blackout, perhaps even less, you could be shooting 7.62 51. Same on the platform cost. You can buy ones that are, you know, about the same cost. The 308 ones tend to be a little bit more expensive. God, I'm not stable. I'm just in a pit. I'm in a freaking sand pit and I'm not relocating. Oh, dude, hit. And I wish I brought my other ears. I didn't. I freaking hit it, and the target got hit so hard it almost fell over. I'm not even kidding you. This is not set up at all. This is what I'm talking about, though. My ballistic problem with this, I'm at like 6.5, 6.7 MOA. I can spin that so quick. I'm not doing multiple revolutions. And look, second shot, I hit it. And when that 7.62 51 connects at 168, dude's not going to like it. He will not like it. I got to like plug my ear. Another hit. Almost knocking the target over every time. Another hit. I could do this all day. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I'm not trying to, you know, throw the results. For instance, I'm not trying to miss with a 300 Blackout. That is not how I operate. I'm trying my absolute best to hit with it. I am. But the point is pretty much shown here in this raw infield shooting video about the differences. Let's see what my review cartridge. Yeah, that first one was not right. .2164 is a better average, dude. There you go for the 7.62 51. So in a Nutn shell, I would not jump on the bandwagon of the 300 Blackout. I'm not going to do it. Again, it doesn't mean I hate the round, doesn't mean I don't think there's an application for it. But if you're considering of going out and selling your 5.56 AR-15s and, you know, going over to the 300 Black platform, I would think twice. I think long and hard. It's just the flavor of the year. And some guys won't like that I say that. And they're usually guys that have been emotionally or financially invested in the 300 black chambering. You know, some of the videos you'll see on YouTube, the guy has something to gain by promoting the cartridge. Maybe he's associated with a certain gun manufacturer, certain ammunition maker, and they are looking to make money. And so if they can come to the gun world and they can convince the gun world, hey, you know, a 300 Blackout is the new go-to cartridge, then they make new sales. Understand that. And I'm not saying it's bad, but it definitely has its limitations. Long range is one of them, for sure. Cost is another one. Availability is a huge one. You know, in WRL, you're going to go out and barter with some dude that has 300 black. Good luck. You know, you have 5.56, you can barter that all day long. 7.62 39, barter it all day long. Hey, I need some food. Here's, you know, 20 rounds of AK ammo. You can do that all day long. So that's my take on it. You know, I'm kind of debunking it here. No apologies, you know. So keep your comments cool. I'll let them run for a little while, and then I'm just going to archive them like we've been doing it here in the project. So subscribe, comment early, be part of the conversation. And then after that, it just goes by the wayside. This is not the only philosophy of use caliber conversation I've had. I did it with a 6.5 Creedmoor, which I am a fan of. I think it does offer advantages over 308 and 300 Win Mag. I talk about it in that video. And I've done some discussions early on in the project, 5.56 versus 7.62 39. Look those up. Nothing fancy. See ya.